Good afternoon and welcome to this special call Board of Trustee meeting. Throughout 2021, the board has had the privilege of conducting our meetings in two of our newest ETSU venues, the Martin Center for the Arts and most recently the Model Mill, where we are currently leasing space for university advancement, the ETSU Foundation, and the Alumni Association. Today, however, it is our great honor to be back on campus in the newly renovated D.P. Culp Student Center here at the East Tennessee Room. We have truly missed being on campus, and we all look forward to returning in the fall and reconnecting with our students. Since our last meeting in late April, more than 2,200 of our students officially became alumni. Over the course of 4 days, ETSU held 7 graduation ceremonies, along with other end-of-year special events, including the College of Nursing pinning ceremony and the ROTC commissioning. In addition, more than 3,400 students from the May and December graduates in the class of 2020 were invited back to campus to be part of the commencement ceremony. Again, congratulations to all of our recent graduates. During its meeting on May the 20th, the Tennessee Higher Education Commission granted final approval for 3 new academic programs at ETSU. These include a Master of Fine Arts in Digital Media, a Doctor of Occupational Therapy, and the Master of Science in Orthotics and Prosthetics. Recruitment for these 3 programs will begin soon. In addition, the Higher Education Commission also approved an off-campus location in Chattanooga, which will house the Blue Sky Institute, a new partnership between ETSU and Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee that will recruit students seeking a bachelor's degree in computing with a concentration in information systems. That program will welcome its inaugural students next summer. Other major announcements in recent weeks include a report on the radiology. You're going to have to help me, Doctor.
Radiology?
Thank you. Science program. That for the past 5 years, the program has had a 100% job placement rate and a 100% pass rate on the national certification exam. And for the 11th consecutive year, ETSU has earned designation as a military-friendly school. The university ranked among the top 10 schools and was also designated as a military spouse-friendly institution. The fall of 2021 is just around the corner. In fact, it will be here in exactly 68 days. I know there is a great amount of excitement as we plan to welcome all of our students back to campus and to see our classmates and residence halls return to full capacity. I greatly appreciate our students, faculty, and staff for all that they do to support this great university. I'll now turn the meeting over to Dr. Green to take the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As today is not a regularly scheduled meeting, but rather a special called meeting of the board, we have several trustees who are participating by electronic means. Please note that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Members of the university community, the public, and the media are gathered in the East Tennessee Room in the D.P. Culp Center on our campus. With some trustees participating remotely, there are different procedures to follow as we take a roll and vote today. In accordance with Tennessee Code 8-44-108, Section C3, I have 2 questions to ask you if you could answer for the record as we call the roll if you are participating remotely. Those questions are you able to clearly hear us so you can participate in this meeting? And can you please identify any persons present in the room with you from which you are participating in this meeting? I'll now call the roll. Trustee Ayers?
Present. And no one's with me and I can hear.
Thank you. Trustee DiCarlo?
I am present, obviously. I can hear clearly and no one is with me.
Trustee Foley?
Present.
Trustee Gilliam?
Here.
Trustee Grisham?
Here, I'm alone and I can hear well.
Trustee Latimer?
Here.
Trustee Ramsey?
Here.
Trustee Stigall-Jones?
I am here and I can hear and I'm alone.
Trustee Wolf?
Here.
And Chairman Niswonger.
I'm here with many friends.
Those present in the room, are you clearly able to hear those who are participating remotely?
Yes.
Yes. All right, Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to ask that we have a motion and a second to determine the necessity of, for this meeting to proceed. Do I have a motion?
And Chairman,
Yes,
since
sir.
we have a quorum present, we actually do not have to necessitate the meeting,
Okay?
so we are good.
Strike that. Stricken. Next on the agenda today is report from academic research and student success recommendations for tenure upon appointment. Dr. Bishop?
Mr. Chairman and board members, I'm delighted to bring this order of business to you today. It is appointment with tenure of two people. The first is Provost Kimberly McCorkle, who will be joining us in July. She comes from the University of West Florida. She has a BA in English from Louisiana State University, and she has a JD from the University of Florida, which she earned in 1998. She will be appointed at the rank of professor with tenure upon your approval. In your packet, there's information summarized by President Nolan in his recommendation of appointment that talks about her publications, her scholarly activities, and her qualifications to be appointed at the level of professor and with tenure. And there's also a copy of her CV. And if you'd like, I believe we can do both of these together.
Okay.
The second candidate that I'm bringing before you today is Dr. David Shoham. Dr. Shoham is coming to the department to be the chair of the Department of Biostatistics and Epidemiology in the College of Public Health. He has a BA in political science. He has a master's of public health, which, oh, by the way, his BA in political science is from the University of Chicago. Didn't want to leave that off. He has a master's of science in public health, a focus on epidemiology from Emory. And in 2005, he earned a PhD from the University of North Carolina in epidemiology. Dr. Shoham brings a significant array of publications and scholarship activities. He is recommended to be appointed with tenure. He is currently tenured in his position, and at the rank of associate professor with 3 years credit toward promotion. And again, a summary of his recommendations is in your packet, along with his CV. So if there are any questions, I'll take them. If not, I present these two candidates for your action.
Okay, further questions? I'd ask that we, for a motion and a second, that we approve tenure upon appointment for these individuals.
I move to approve.
Thank you. Have a second?
Second.
I second.
Okay, thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Yes, sir. Trustee Ayers?
Yes.
Trustee DiCarlo?
Yes.
Trustee Foley?
Yes.
Trustee Grisham?
Yes.
Trustee Latimer?
Yes.
Trustee Ramsey?
Aye.
Trustee Stigall-Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
And Chairman Niswonger.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Think you have the next
I
issue
have
as
the
well.
next item also, so I
Thank
just
you.
stayed here. The next item is related to a tuition request that we're bringing to the board. We have several programs at the university that we've been working with the Educational Advisory Board for the last couple of years to identify programs that have high potential for enrollment and for access through online participation. And our Masters of Arts in Public Administration is one of those programs that's currently under review and has been updated. One of the things that's unique about this program is that we have an on-ground component, but we're also going to have an online totally component, because this program targets working professionals. And it also is a program that often cities or other government agencies want to pay to send their students to school. And so we wanted to make it easy for them to do it so they could continue as part of the workforce. We also found that people told us that there was a concern that they didn't know what it was going to cost them. And they were afraid that if they were working with their employer, they may have an escalating cost during the period of time. So we're bringing before you a proposal that will be a fixed cost tuition at $579 a credit hour. We will be waiving in that process some out-of-state cost for fees, and we will be reducing some of the in-state fees. It's $102, I believe. I've got to look at the numbers. In your packet on page 55, you'll see the budget. It's $106.50 that in-state students will see a reduction in cost, and it is a $232 that out-of-state students would see. And we want to guarantee this $579 rate for a period of 3 years, because we believe they can complete the 36-credit course of study in 3 years. And so they could start the program and finish the program, and we can be competitive by saying you can get a degree for under $21,000. And you'll see some statistics in the packet that describe what some of our competitors charge. So this program is being brought to you as a bit of a pilot. We want to do this for 3 years with students entering the fall of 21, 22, and 23. We want to hold this tuition rate for those 3 cohorts for the 3 years it will take them to complete their program. Dr. Colin Glennon, who's the chair of the department, is with me, as well as Dr. Joe Bidwell, who's the dean of the college. So I'll be glad to take any questions.
Well, see, so it ends up being a 6-year hold if you start in the third year, correct?
It would be a 9-year hold, I guess, right? Because we've got 3 years.
Yeah.
So the cohort that starts the 3rd year would have 3 more years, too.
6 years.
We've got a cohort starting in 21,
Technically 5.
a cohort starting in 22. Is my math wrong?
No, it's all good.
It's good.
Okay.
The intent is very sound, and
Right.
the intent is to make sure that they can budget, or their municipality can budget, and you can recruit.
Yes. Forever long it takes.
And I can
I
tell
just
you
said-
firsthand, from experience in local government, it's hard to find local government professionals.
Yes.
And encourage them through training and other programs like this. I think it's a great thing.
Trustee Wolf, members of the board, I'd like to commend Dr. Colin Glennon for bringing this idea to the table. You see the price comps to online national competitors in this space. This prices us below the University of Phoenix. It prices us below the University of Southern New Hampshire and some of the institutions that are broad in their marketing efforts. We, as you're well aware, have a long-standing history of leadership in this area. In fact, at one point, the bulk of the city managers in East Tennessee were trained at this institution. So from a public administration perspective, this allows us to market, to be competitive, and to say to those local governments, tuition and fees are locked so that your employees can move through the process with certainty.
Have you gotten any indication as of interest?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've, through kind of reaching out to some of our channels, some of the professionals Dr. Nolan mentioned, I know we talked with Charlie Stahl, for example, quite a bit about this kind of program locally, and hopefully spoke with some individuals in Kingsport as well. I think as of now, there are a number of applications still coming through the pipeline. We're hoping to launch with a class of about 10 to 12 in this first cohort, and then hopefully it'll expand through there through kind of word of mouth and other marketing efforts that we've made. But if you're looking for a number, that's where we kind of are.
Just curious.
Yeah, I think there's some
There is
good insight and good feedback we've gotten so far in reaching out to the community, and we'll continue those efforts.
Thank you.
Further questions? I'd like to ask that we have a motion and a second to approve the revised pricing model for Master of Arts and Public Administration.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Green?
Trustee Ayers,
Yes.
Trustee DeCarlo,
Yes.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
Trustee Grisham,
Yes.
Trustee Latimer,
Yes.
Trustee Ramsey,
Aye.
Trustee Segal Jones,
Aye.
Trustee Wolf,
Aye.
and Chairman Niswonger.
Yes.
Passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Next, I'd like to call on Dr. B.J. King to deliver the next item, which is discussion of salary plans for June and July 21, found in tab 3.
Chairman Niswonger, trustees, Dr. Nolan, and staff, good morning.
Good morning.
It is so good to see you all without masks today. So just love to see your faces, and hopefully we'll put some smiles on them today. We wanted to go over the salary plans for June and July with you. It's on page 56 in your agenda. And so I want to remind you that the state legislature approved a supplemental appropriation for salary enhancements in fiscal year 21, which we're currently in. That was for the main campus, for the College of Medicine, and for family medicine. And while it's uncertain about when we'll receive the appropriation, when it will be credited to our account in Nashville, there is certainty now about receiving the funds. So executive leadership approved a one-time bonus of $500 for all benefits eligible employees based on the legislative approval of the funding. And management had evaluated an across-the-board flat percentage rate versus this one-time dollar amount, and be looking at investing the same total dollars. And what we determined was that making the $500 payment to every eligible employee provides those at the lower end of our pay scales with a highest percentage dollar payout. So we felt in this economic time that that was the most appropriate way to distribute those funds. So this one-time payment will be included in the June payroll for active employees during the period April 1 through May 30. We got that period from HR's work on this project. And any cost for the implementation above the supplemental appropriation we are to receive will be covered by institutional funds through our year-end processes. The university received a little over $780,000, College of Medicine about $575,000, and Family Medicine $154,000. As you know, this implementation at the College of Pharmacy is fully self-funded since they receive no state appropriations. So are there any questions about our process with this June payment or comments?
Questions?
Okay. We'll move on to what we're planning to do in July and in the fall. The legislative session ended with approval of salary enhancement pools for fiscal year 22. Those pools are $3.1 million for the main campus, about $2 million for the College of Medicine, and a little over $600,000 for family medicine. So leadership prepared projections on funding for a pool for an across-the-board enhancement, but is waiting until enrollment is certain in August to finalize the calculations. The target of 3.5% has been discussed, and preliminary enrollment data looks favorable for funding the institutional portion of the pools. And we will be bringing information forward at the September meeting to talk about the plan to implement that portion. But management did see the need to address two employee populations effective in July prior to the full implementation of the salary pools. Human Resources proposed an increase at the lowest pay categories on campus in light of the national discussions on minimum wage. Leadership has approved moving the minimum wage from $9.25 an hour to $10.15 an hour for all permanent positions effective July 1. Our pay tables will be adjusted to reflect the change July 1. And just for your information, the latest change in minimum wage for permanent employees was in August of 2019 when the wage was moved to $9.25 an hour. This implementation will impact around 100 positions on the main campus and a few others in the College of Medicine, Family Medicine, and College of Pharmacy. Additionally, the university will use a portion of the salary pool for FY22 to adjust adjunct pay rate to a minimum of $800 per credit hour. Each college on the main campus will be provided funding from the salary enhancement pool based on paid course hours from fall of 2019. We're going back to fall of 2019 because fall of 20 in our mind is an anomaly, and fall of 2019 seemed the appropriate place to go for data. This is a one-time recurring funding by central administration to assist colleges in their goals to raise adjunct-based salaries. The $800 per credit hour will be the minimum amount for an adjunct contract starting fall of 21. So 2 moves for minimum wage in our pay scales and also for the lowest level adjunct faculty pay scales as well. Are there any questions? Do I get smiles? All right, that's what I want to see. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, I'd call on President Nolan to discuss the naming of Building 60.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, good morning. On behalf of staff, it is, in some respects, my bittersweet pleasure to bring this recommendation to you for your consideration. The action that you took on tenure for Kimberly McCorkle earlier signified one further step in the transition to a new provost at the institution. And at the close of this month, Dr. Bishop will step down from her role at the university after more than 40 years of service. I bring before you for your consideration a change in the name of Building 60 on the VA campus from the Center for Interprofessional Health and Education to Bishop Hall. As you reflect upon the history of the university, Dr. Bishop is probably the most accomplished senior academic and administrative leader in the history of the university. She began as a faculty member, rising through the ranks to take on a number of administrative roles, serving in points of time as dean, associate provost, head of operations, head of the Academic Health Sciences Center, and then with Dr. Bach's retirement, stepping in to serve as interim provost and chief academic officer. This is, in many respects, a significant transition in the history of the institution in more ways than one, and I can think of no fitting honor to recognize Dr. Bishop's service and the service of female leaders across the history of our institution than to bring forward this recommendation on behalf of staff. And you see the backup where this has moved through the shared governance process, the recommendation from the shared governance process as well as staff, as well as my office to rename Building 60 to Bishop Hall. This item is presented for your consideration and would welcome any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Nolan. Questions? Yes, that we have a motion and a second to approve the naming of Building 60.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Okay. Dr. Green?
Yes, sir. Trustee Ayers,
Yes.
Trustee DeCarlo,
Yes.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
Trustee Grisham,
Yes.
Trustee Latimer,
Yes.
Trustee Ramsey,
Aye.
Trustee Segal Jones,
100% yes and 2 thumbs up.
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Aye.
and Chairman Niswonger.
Aye.
It is unanimous.
Okay. Thank you.
That's awesome.
Our next item of business is the election of our board officers. As provided by the Focus Act, East Tennessee State University is governed by the Board of Trustees that sets policies and guidelines for the operation of the university, consistent with Tennessee Code annotated and the bylaws for our Board of Trustees, provide for the election of chair, vice chair, and a third executive committee member every 2 years. At this time, I would ask for a nomination of Linda Lattimore to be considered for chair. These 3 nominations will take effect at the end of today's meeting. I have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we
Thank you.
elect, and yes, I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Virginia.
Mr. Chairman, before we proceed with any further nominations or discussion or voting, I'd like to ask Dr. Latimer if she would take a moment, please, to express to us, her fellow board members, as she seeks to be elevated to a leadership position, her vision for the university and for us as a board, please.
Thank you. Obviously, as being vice chair all this time and on the executive committee since being on the inaugural board, we have done a lot of work together. And one of the biggest accomplishments, I think, and one of the most fun ones that we've done is the Research Corporation and figuring out how to bring in public-private partnerships. So I think that's been very exciting, looking at how we want to engage different businesses in the region, like you were alluding to. How could we train them with different certificates, go to the businesses, find out what we need, give as much success as possible to our students.
Thank you.
There's been discussion in our community quite a bit lately about the school and our role in the community and the community's role in the school. Do you have any specific things to add as far as your vision for ETSU's role in the community?
I think you hit on the exact word, vision. So under Dr. Nolan's leadership, we're doing Vision 125, and we have different task force that we're focusing on to focus on the things we need.
Further questions?
And as you probably know, Mr. Wolf, that a lot of the community members are on that task force.
Absolutely.
Okay. Dr. Green?
Trustee Ayers,
Yes.
Trustee DeCarlo,
He's muted.
Yes.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
Trustee Grisham,
Yes.
Trustee Latimer,
Yes.
Trustee Ramsey,
Yes.
Trustee Segal Jones,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Aye.
and Chairman Niswonger.
Yes.
It is unanimous.
Thank you. Next, I would now ask for a nomination for Steve DeCarlo to become our vice chair. Is there a motion?
So move.
Okay, I have a second.
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 3 seconds, okay. Dr. Green?
Trustee Ayers,
Yes.
Trustee DeCarlo,
Sure.
Trustee Foley,
Yes.
Trustee Grisham,
Yes.
Trustee Latimer,
Yes.
Trustee Ramsey,
Aye.
Trustee Segal Jones,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf,
Aye.
and Chairman Niswonger.
Aye.
It is unanimous.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, if I may, I did have a question. I wasn't expecting to jump straight into voting. I have a question for, I guess now, Vice Chair DeCarlo, if that's okay.
Certainly.
Mr. DeCarlo, I guess my question is more about a procedural question in terms of being able to preside in case if Dr. Latimer is not able to be present. Like, I know that you live further away in North Carolina. Is attendance or being able to preside over Zoom a concern, or is that something that has been discussed?
Well, it's not a concern. I mean, as long as the meetings are planned, as they have been, on a regular scheduled basis, there's not a concern. Like everybody, I have a schedule that I have to kind of drive, but if Dr. Latimer was not able to attend, I would cancel everything else I have going and be able to attend. So there is no conflict. And, frankly, Charlotte is almost a suburb of Johnson City. I think that's how we should refer to it. I enjoy coming over the mountain as I refer to it. So I don't see any conflict, but if there is, I will remedy it as quickly as I possibly can.
Wonderful, thank you. I don't have any more questions.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Finally, I now ask for a nomination of the chair of our audit committee, Melissa Stegall-Jones, to be considered as the third member of the executive committee. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? Dr. Green?
Trustee Ayers?
Yes.
Trustee DiCarlo?
Yes.
Trustee Foley?
Yes.
Trustee Grisham?
Yes.
Trustee Latimer?
Yes.
Trustee Ramsey?
Aye.
Trustee Stegall-Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
And Chairman Niswonger.
Aye.
It is unanimous.
Okay. President's report. Dr. Nolan.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, and I guess I will say, Mr. Chair, for the last time for a little bit because we'll transition to Madam Chair. So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, on behalf of staff, I'm honored to provide a brief update on things that have transpired across the institution since your last meeting in April. I want to give visibility around enrollment, I want to provide visibility around budgets, some of the work that we're doing in the Committee for 125 to outreach to the community, talk some about our COVID-19 preparations, and then mention staff transitions. So I'll begin with enrollment. As you'll recall, at every board meeting, I feel it's important for us to provide an update on enrollment to the board. Given the uncertainty around the enrollment landscape associated with COVID, this past year has been difficult, to say the least. As we look at enrollment at this institution, there are probably as many people in this room as there have been in any one space in a long time. In fact, for the majority of the fall and in the spring, the bulk of our operations were via distance as we took aggressive actions to fight the spread of COVID-19. But we are taking aggressive actions to open the campus fully for the fall. We're promoting, we're marketing, and we're moving in a way that is somewhat unique to remind students that it is not too late in the equation to make their college choice decision. I asked Dr. Sherlin last week of the active tours that are coming to campus, what % of those participants are students who graduated from high school in May and are still trying to make their decision? That number is north of 30%. So students are making their decisions later than normal. So the numbers that I provide to you are with the caveat that I think this is a baseline, and I'm optimistic that this baseline will be the baseline and our numbers will move upward. If you look at freshman applications and if you look at projected enrollment to this point in time, in 2017, we had right at 1,865 freshmen projected this point in time. In 19, it was 1,654. If everything holds at this moment, we're at 1,855. So enrollment is up almost 200 at the freshman level over where we were in 19, and I'm hopeful that number will move upwards even more as we move between now and the start of the fall. On the transfer equation in 2017, the baseline number was 522 at this point in time. In 19, it was 548. Right now, we're at 669. So as we look towards enrollment in the fall, enrollment is trending in the right direction, and it's doing so because of the hard work and effort of Dr. Sherlin and his staff. Plus, we've got a great story to tell, and as students are coming onto campus for tours and seeing a lot of these new buildings for the first time, it's been really quite enjoyable to see their eyes open wide at the opportunities at the institution. As you know, this time last year, we were making very difficult decisions around housing, moving all housing to singular aspects. We felt that there would be some challenges rebounding from that, but I'm pleased to report that that rebound is also going better than expected. So once again, similar baseline comps of 17-19 to now. In 17, we had 1,327 new applications for housing. In 19, we had 1,269 new applications for housing. This fall, we're at 1,370. So we are confident that we will move towards some range of close to maximum occupancy. We probably will keep one residence hall offline in the event that we need that for COVID space, but we are hopeful as we move towards the fall that with vaccinations and the things that the university is moving through, that fall will look much more like normal. So from an enrollment perspective and a housing perspective, feel very positive about where we are with respect to those numbers. Overall, we have built our budget to be down 100, and we are staying within that budget parameter. We are hopeful that we'll be flat, if not up, and if so, when we come back before the board in September, and then later when you take action on October revised budgets, we'll look at that expenditure. But for now, I'd rather be very conservative than overly optimistic and come back and have to make adjustments. As it relates to budget, our budget going into the fall is balanced. You heard reference in Dr. King's comments to the projections we're making around salary enhancements, and we will, in the fall, bring to you our projections around the distribution of CARES resources. We are still moving through some of the entanglements associated with both the second and third tranche of CARES funding. The second we'll use to make whole a lot of our auxiliaries and those units that took significant reductions due to COVID. And then the third, we are still working with our colleagues at the Department of Education to gain some clarity around the use of those funds. So long story short, enrollment's solid, if not trending better than expected. Housing numbers are solid, if not trending better than expected. Budget's balanced, and we're optimistic about what the fall will hold. I referenced our COVID transition, July 1. We welcome everyone back to campus. We will, at that point, move into fall operations. Our mask mandates have dropped. We are encouraging everyone to get vaccinated. We're encouraging everyone to do the things they can to keep themselves safe. But I think as a country, we have turned a corner, and as an institution, we have definitely turned a corner. We will put in place a broad range of surveillance initiatives for the fall, from sewer testing on down the line. We want to have advanced visibility if something does move through the institution, no pun intended. But we are moving forward in a much more aggressive posture than we have been in for the past 16 months. Let me pause to see if there's any questions around enrollment or budget before moving to the next section of my update.
What do you attribute the increases to, Brian?
I think a lot of it's the hard work of our staff, Trustee Wolf. We were one, if not the only public institution in the state that was making visits on ground in the fall and in the spring. So Dr. Sherlin and his staff were setting up in coffee shops, in parking lots. We were doing small tours. We were the first public institution, to the best of my knowledge, to do on-ground orientations. And we've done a number of welcome houses. So the moment we could safely start to welcome folks back, we did. I also think this is an institution that academically is positioned to make some moves. We have the largest college of nursing in the state of Tennessee. We are the flagship health sciences institution in what was the Board of Regents system. And we've had a good story to tell. So I think part of it's the academic strength of the university. Part of it's these new facilities. We've not had new facilities to this extent on campus in decades, but the blocking and tackling that Dr. Sherlin and his staff did, from my perspective, is what has put us in the position we're in. And Trustee Wolf, a little bit of additional context. And I had slides, but I figure I usually come before you with slides all the time. Today I wasn't going to use them. If you look at spring nationally, 600,000 fewer students enrolled in post-secondary education across the country this spring than in the spring prior. So our enrollment's down a little bit, but not to the extent that it is at publics and privates across the country. We're well positioned, but we still have a lot of work to do between now and the fall to be where we want to be. Other questions? So the next, Chairman Niswonger mentioned Blue Sky, was on a call with J.D. Hickey and staff from Blue Cross Blue Shield literally right before coming into this meeting. That initiative is moving forward. We did receive authorization from the Tennessee Higher Education Commission earlier this spring to move forward with the project on ground, on site in Chattanooga, and hope to have the chance to visit their corporate headquarters later this summer. I think that is a unique public-private partnership that has the opportunity for replication, particularly here. So as we move through 125, you're going to see us look to do more blue sky type initiatives. But just wanted to give the update that that is moving forward, and I think will generate a lot of positive traction for the institution, both in Hamilton County as well as across the state. I've referenced new spaces. I want to give a quick construction update. Lamb Hall, we've begun work on Lamb Hall. That will be more than a $20 million renovation for classrooms and labs. We will formally break ground on that project soon, but in many respects, we already have broken ground. Jeremy reminds me every day that every day lost in construction is $1 in cost overruns that are coming our way. We are seeing significant escalation in pricing, and you all know more about that than I. But we're seeing, in some respects, 30% escalations in price, even for small renovations. If we were meeting in Dossett Hall, behind me would be the sound of hammers and whatever in the world it is they're doing up in the graduate school space that we're preparing for legal. But that was going to be a $40,000 renovation when it was initially priced. It's going to come in at a $90,000 renovation presently. So we're wanting to get moving on some of these projects as quickly as we can so we can lock in bids and specs. Lamb Hall is moving. We received funding, as you're aware, for the academic building. We're beginning the planning for that space. Dr. Bidwell, who was here earlier, he and his team had the entrance meeting with an internal team earlier this week to spec that building. We have some minor renovation work that's occurring in Brown Hall. Brown Hall will be the next capital project that we submit to THEC. THEC this session has changed their parameters, no longer accepting new buildings, only major renovations. So we are submitting a proposal to THEC somewhere in the $30 to $40 million range for their scoring and consideration that would renovate the labs in Brown Hall. The labs in Brown Hall are dated, to say the least, and if this project is funded, it would be a game changer for the biology and chemistry departments. One note as it relates to items and facilities, and I thank the board for its concurrence around our recommendation on minimum wage. We are struggling to fill positions. In custodial alone, we have 30 vacancies. And in the technical areas, those vacancies are also pronounced, so in the skilled trades. We put in place an early retirement incentive program in the fall. Many individuals took advantage of that, particularly in the skilled trades. So Mr. Ross and his team are looking at some adjustments across salary to allow us to be competitive. But the things that you hear anecdotally about challenges business and industry are facing filling vacancies is real. And it's particularly real in those areas that help to keep the campus moving. So we're going to try to keep all these construction projects moving, but if a few things get behind schedule, it's not because of a lack of effort on our behalf. Had mentioned and welcomed Dr. Bishop back. Dr. Bishop stepped aside during the vote in case y'all wanted to talk about her, but Dr. Bishop, welcome back and congratulations.
It was close.
It was close. This is a period of transition. We had transition today on the board, but we're also experiencing transition in leadership roles as Dr. Bishop transitions out at the end of the month and Provost McCorkle moves into her position. Dennis Depew has announced his retirement, and this fall we'll launch a national search for the College of Business Dean. Dr. Tony Pederisi, kind of the engine behind Blue Sky, is serving as the interim dean. We have an interim in Catherine Wilhoit, who is serving in nursing. We have a national search that is pretty close to coming to close. We had 4 candidates on campus in May, and we are completing the due diligence process and hope to be able to announce the new Dean of the College of Nursing within the next few days. We also have a vacancy in Arts and Sciences. Joe Bidwell is serving as the interim there, and we'll launch a national search for the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences in the fall. So if you look across the deans, minus Dr. Samples and Dr. Wyckoff, the bulk of the deans are less than 5 years in their tenure. And from a senior leadership perspective, this is probably the most transition and turnover we've had in decades. So I thank the board for the guidance that you're going to provide to us. I thank the board for pushing us, and I thank the board for holding us accountable as we bring these new individuals into leadership positions. Just a couple more updates, Mr. Chair. I know we want to stay within time. Just an update on Committee for 125. They meet tomorrow at 1. This will be the second meeting of the committee, and it'll be an opportunity for them to hear updates from the task forces. Our task forces in academics, student success, research, ETSU health, equity and inclusion, and fiscal sustainability have been meeting for the past couple of months. After tomorrow's meeting, we'll then transition into the next phase of 125, which is community outreach, the opportunity for us to hold town halls, employer roundtables, and public forums in communities all across this region for us to learn more about their hopes, dreams, and aspirations for the institution. We'll report back to the board in the board retreat on the work that has moved through that process. And then as we move through the fall, we'll bring a lot of visibility to this board around the vision that's coming up through that process. So just wanted to give an update to the board that the task forces are working. The committee will receive an update from the task forces tomorrow, and then we'll bring full visibility to you at the next couple of full board meetings around the work that's occurring there. The challenge that I've given to everyone is to dream big. As former Provost Burbach used to say, if money were not an issue, what would you do? And in every meeting, I've pushed folks to think beyond our current parameters, which is difficult. COVID, we've looked down. We've got to look up and look to the future about what could be, recognizing that this institution has some work to do, but I'm confident in the work that's on the horizon. And I want to set that looking forward with a little bit of looking back. I don't mean to read, but I'm going to read for a second. And I want to read to you from a piece called The History of East Tennessee State College by David Sinclair Burleson, a book that tells the history of the institution from 1911 to 1945. Because sometimes we have to look back in order to learn as we move forward. But it reads as follows. During the 35 years from its opening in 1911 to the present, the normal school has enrolled approximately 15,000 different students. While a large proportion of these have been taking pre-service training for teaching, the majority have become teachers in service who've attended specially arranged afternoon, evening, and Saturday classes. So in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, we met in the afternoons, the evenings, and Saturdays. Atypical schedules, something we can learn from as we move forward to adapt to the emerging needs of business and industry. But that atypical schedule, flexibility among our faculty and staff yielded the following. Over 50% of the elementary teachers and 1/6 of the high school teachers in the rural regions of East Tennessee received all or part of their training from this institution. And more than 60% of all teachers in Knoxville, well, east of Knoxville, had attended the Johnson City School. So by 1945, half of all the teachers in this region had been trained at this institution, and more than 60% of all the teachers east of Knoxville had received training from this institution. But that training was based on a stressed character and a character of ethics and a character of service. So that character of ethics and service runs through the history of the university. But ultimately, what ties us all together is that we are, as Burleson says, all children of all people, rooted in improving the quality of life for the people of this region. So as we look back at what has been, learning from the experiences of the spring, I also encourage myself to remember why we're here, to serve the people of this region. And if we cannot serve the people of this region, then we've not met our mission. So as we move forward with new leadership, and as we move forward with 125 Chapter 2, I can assure this board that the institution is firmly rooted in the values that created the university. And as a reminder, if we can find a way to teach classes on Friday, Saturday, and the evenings on compressed calendars in the 20s and the 30s, we can find a way to do it moving forward. My last item, Mr. Chair, is a matter of personal privilege, and it is my opportunity to say thank you to you. You are the inaugural chair of this board. You guided this institution through the framing of the structure and the culture of the Board of Trustees. It has been my honor to work for you and with you. I stand here today because in 2012, you were part of the process that brought my family and I back home to East Tennessee. And we will, at the September meeting of the board, if the board moves forward a recommendation, resolutions, and a few other things in honor of your service. But I wanted to take an opportunity on behalf of the leadership team, the students and the faculty and staff of East Tennessee State University to thank you for your service to this board and to this institution as our inaugural chair. Thank you, Chairman Niswonger. That concludes my report. Both. That concludes my report. I'd be happy to take any questions. If you're clapping that I'm done talking, that's good as well.
No, I thought it was a good meeting, Dr. Nolan. Good
Well,
accomplishments, good people.
before we conclude, once again, as a matter of housekeeping, we're deviating from the script, and there are box lunches. For those who want to stay for lunch, I invite you to join us upstairs on the terrace. It's a beautiful day. But Mr. Chair, I'll take my seat unless there are questions for me.
Thank you, Dr. Nolan. Before I ask Lieutenant Governor Ramsey for a motion for adjournment, I would like to say what an honor it has been for me to work with all of you and learn more about ETSU. And the one thing that continues to come forward in my mind is we have not lost sight of that mission that was formed in 1911. That everyone here is working to provide a relevant education for young people and working adults, that they might gain successful and meaningful lives and careers. And again, over the past 5 years, as I've worked with this leadership team, that comes through to me that we're all here focused on the student. We've never let that get away from us. So thanks to all of you for that. Now, since there is no need for executive session, I'd like to ask Lieutenant Governor Ramsey for a motion for adjournment. Do I have a second?
And a vote. Do I have a second and a vote?
Second.
I second.
All those in favor, say aye.